Welcome to the SecureWorld Sessions. We are a cybersecurity podcast that is all about access. Access to people and ideas that can impact your personal cybersecurity career and also help you secure your organization. Hi, my name is Bruce Sussman, and I am Director of Content at SecureWorld, also your podcast host. It's great being with you today. And in this session, we're in part 2 of our mini-series on cybersecurity, red teams versus blue teams. It's the attackers versus the defenders. But before we get into that, I do want to alert you to where you can find the latest information relating to the coronavirus and SecureWorld's 17 regional cybersecurity conferences. So right now, go ahead and go to our website, SecureWorldExpo.com. And check out the very top of the page. You'll see a banner there that says Announcement on Coronavirus. And that's really a link to our FAQs, which are updated anytime we make changes to the conference schedule or reschedule, as is often going to be the case. Also, I want to mention something else that we are doing to help keep the community informed and networked in this really strange situation we all find ourselves in. And it is strange, isn't it? I mean, it's almost surreal. But the good news is we're all in this together. Even if we're having to practice social distancing, we're still going through it together. One of the things that we felt like we could do here at SecureWorld is something that starts today at 1 o'clock Eastern at 10 p.m. Pacific. We are launching the SecureWorld Remote Sessions, which are complimentary mini webinars that are live, then they're available on demand, and each one can earn you a CPE credit. And we just thought with so many collaborative efforts on hold, we wanted to do something to bring our community together. So today's topic, by the way, on the mini webinar, pandemic planning and survival for security teams. And later in the week, incident response planning, which as you know, has a lot of overlap with business continuity. And then also another session on the legal risks relating to privacy, security, and suddenly switching tens of thousands of employees, maybe millions around the globe, right, to week after week of remote work. So I'm going to put a link to all of these sessions in the show notes, or you can go to our website, SecureWorldExpo.com, and click on resources. Okay, back to the topic of the day. Now, in our last episode, we talked about purple team exercises, and we actually spent a good chunk of time hearing from a red teamer. Those red teamers, they're often in the spotlight.
Penetration testing red team, it is by far the best job ever, I think, at least that I've ever had.
And why?
You break the law literally every day. Stuff other people go to jail for. That's on the daily job kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. You find interesting things, and at the end, what you're doing is helping people. So you get to do bad things, but for a good reason, and for the right, for the right mindset, for the right type of personality. That hits all the buttons.
That is red teamer Chris Carless, and you can hear more of his interview in part 1. But today, we are going to focus on the blue team. And if you're a blue teamer, we're going to answer the question of how you can get more credit for the success that you and your teammates have. So let's go to SecureWorld Detroit now, and my interview with Ryan Mostiller, who is Senior Security Engineer at Penske Automotive Group. And yes, you're going to hear some conference collaboration in the background. And I love your session description where you said something like, blue teamers do their thing while the red teamers are considered like the top gunners. They get all the publicity and maybe all the girls or whatever. But I mean, you didn't say that in the description, but I'm elaborating. But tell me about this idea that blue teamers may not necessarily get their due, but they're crucial.
Sure, yeah, the red teamers are, Top Gun pilots, perfect description. They're essentially hackers that are paid by the business to hack them. They They get to do offensive things. They get to pull out all the tricks, and they have great stories. I watched the story from SecureWorks earlier today from their red team. Sorry, a lot of Secure W things here.
Yes, indeed.
And they, it was just fun stories. Hey, I did this, and then, it ended here. And, this is an awesome story. Blue teamers, a lot of our stories are based on when bad things happen, unfortunately. Crucial, we're the defenders. We're here trying to stop everyone. And a lot of times the worst stories or the biggest stories involving defenders are bad. So, I think that we, as blue teamers, really need to try to elevate ourselves a little bit more within the business, try to show our value more. There are wins that we definitely have, and I think that that's something that would be great to tell the story on those. And then, make it so that way the business says, the blue team might not always win, but we can rely on them for the day-to-day.
Yeah, so what you're describing is something from a former career of mine where I worked in television news, and we had an assignment desk. These are the people who organize all the crews that are all over the place and live shots and everything else, and nobody notices what they do until they drop the ball, and then everybody's like, what are those people doing, right? So give us some ideas on how to kind of elevate blue team status. Maybe share an example, if you have one, of something that you try and do to show the organization, hey, we're here and you can, as you were saying, depend on us.
Sure. Yeah, I think communication is key. First thing that we can do for communication is we can always be there and be responsive to the rest of the business. So if something seems like a concern to them or fishy, say, we're here to help. You send that, send over whatever you have, and we'll immediately respond back to you and say, yeah, you're right, this was bad, or, actually it wasn't, or whatever. But, we're always kind of there, like their safety blanket. Additionally, there's a lot more reporting that the blue teamers can do to say, this is how we won today, and you may not have even realized it. We could say, we put in these security controls last week or last month, and it actually has so far stopped about 500 different threats. An example is like a phishing email. People get those all the time. We put in controls that say, hey, when this person clicks this, it's actually, even though they were tricked by it, our security controls actually blocked it. And, we only really find about the phishing emails that weren't blocked, but 99% of them were. So, it can't just be a numbers thing. We can't just say, hey, we blocked 10,000 this month because the business says, so what? Is that good? Is 10,000 a good number or a bad number? But it create a story where you say, this is how, we found a problem and this is what we did to try to mitigate it as best as possible.
So it sounds like you're saying, so you can give kind of proof of performance of what you're doing, but you're taking kind of the technicalese that you guys might talk about on your team, and when you're talking to the business, you're putting it into a story and giving it perspective in plain English almost. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely have to take the techie talk away from it. You have to say, this is how we're defending the business, or this is how we're providing value to the business.
And then one of the things that you had mentioned when I popped into your session, I just happened to catch you saying, if you're going to respond and show that the blue team is responsive, it needs to be done in a reasonable amount of time. Can you explain a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, definitely. I think especially during business hours, it's crucial for a quick response, and definitely for 100% response rate. We don't want to create a situation where people say, last time I got something seemed weird to me, I sent it to security or I sent it to IT or anyone, and nothing came of it. We want to always avoid that situation. We want to say, I thought something was weird and ended up not being weird, but they immediately told me, thanks for reaching out, we looked into it, and here's our outcome. Because the next time they find something, they're going to send it back over because they know that their input was valued.
We will hear more from Ryan right after this. Trend Micro's recently issued annual security roundup is titled The Sprawling Reach of Complex Threats. And let's unpack one part of that report. In today's Trend Micro Top 3, the report mentions 3 notable new strains of ransomware that emerged over the last year. Number 1, Maze ransomware. This is ransomware that can automatically copy all affected files and exfiltrate them to operator-controlled servers. Number 2, Snatch ransomware. One of the features of this variety is that it can force Windows machines to reboot into safe mode to bypass security software, and that helps it avoid detection. And number 3, Zeppelin ransomware. One of the features of this family of malware is that it can terminate various processes and has target customized ransom notes. Now, I'm putting a link to this research in the show notes. It is 51 pages long. It's extremely visual, so check it out. And that is Trend Micro's Top 3. And thanks again, by the way, to Trend Micro for being our premier podcast partner. We are in part 2 of our mini-series on the red team versus blue team.
Access denied. Access
And
denied.
speaking with Ryan Mostiller, Senior Security Engineer at Penske Automotive Group.
Access granted. Access granted. Access granted.
He's a blue teamer, and his work also helps those in other security roles. For example, it almost sounds like the blue team is helping with the security awareness manager's job too when you do that, right? We're here for
Definitely.
you. We're looking out for you.
Yeah, and not everyone has dedicated security awareness people. In our organization, that basically falls on the IT security team. So we try to be a hybrid of technical people, but also people, where we're constantly trying to relay our message as easily, as best as possible, as quickly as possible.
Cool. Anything else you want to say or share with our audience about Blue Team and, what you were sharing here at SecureWorld?
I think that Blue Team can really elevate themselves by doing a better job of reporting up the good that they're doing, as opposed to, obviously every time there's some type of security incident, it's, prepare a report, send it to management, send it to the CIO, maybe he sends that to the board, depending on the severity of it. But, regardless if it gets read or not, no one's stopping you from preparing a report on wins. We could say, there was this vulnerability that was in the news. We immediately, within 24 hours, reviewed it. We started patching it. We're 75% complete, and we have a plan over the next week for that to be completely remediated from the environment. Now, that report may not go anywhere, but also the CIO may get that question asked from the board, and they can say, our blue team's we're on top of that. We have a report. Here's the data right here. So, in turn, we can make the entire business look better.
That is a fantastic insight. That's great.
Thank you.
And that wraps up our Blue Team versus Red Team mini-series here at the end of episode number 26. Now, our listenership continues to grow rapidly, and all we can say is thank you. Now, because you're listening, you are part of SecureWorld's mission of connecting, informing, and developing leaders in cybersecurity. And primarily right now, that's digital collaboration, right? Because we're all kind of hunkering down at home. But soon enough, we'll all be meeting up again. So hang in there during this, what will hopefully turn out to be a blip, right, in world history as we look back at it. Well, that is all for now. And on behalf of our editor, Pete, and the rest of the SecureWorld team, I'm Bruce Sussman, your host of the SecureWorld Sessions, and we'll catch up again on Tuesday.